Hey, we are back at it again. It's so exciting. Twice in 1 month. That's just how busy 2024 has been for us here at 1016. I'm Hollie Taylor, Loretta Slomp joining us on the backside in the, I don't know, the staging area or something. I don't even know what it's called, but she's facilitating all of the details. So big shout outs to Loretta today. Thank you so much, as always. And today we're going to have a conversation with someone that I have not spoken to in years. I think the last time we worked a single from this individual was about 10 years ago. So we are going to play catch up. It's like a reunion here, and I'm very excited about it. So currently, his single Taste and See is up for ads. Matt Brouwer.
Hello.
Dramatic start. I don't know if you're frozen on your end or my end, but hopefully you come back.
Yes.
Are you there? Oh, there you are. Yes.
Hey.
Technology, eh?
Great to see
Oh,
you. Frozen
yes.
or unfrozen.
Exactly. Exactly. And speaking of Frozen, just before we started the interview, we were talking about Frozen because the last time we hung out, our lives were very, very different. I
Yeah.
mean, Frozen wasn't out, Frozen 2 wasn't out. Now our kids enjoy the Frozen series. How have you been? What's been happening? You were in Texas. Now you're back in Canada. Let's get caught up.
Oh man. Well, it has been a journey. Yes, it's been 10 years since I've released any new music. And
Wild.
we have daughters very similar age. My girls are 10 and 8, and I have a son who's 4, and it has been a wild season. And it's been amazing. I've really taken some time off to be with the kids, to stay home while my wife was working. And then in Texas, I was working on the weekends at church. And it was a great, unforeseen experience of being dad and really investing in family and friends.
Yeah, that's incredible. Not every dad gets to stay at home with the kids and be a part of those really beautiful moments that typically moms get to experience. Was it challenging making that transition from being so involved in music to taking that step back and now it's like kids, kids, and more kids?
Yes. Well, as you know, it's such a whirlwind, especially the baby time, and you're
Oh,
so exhausted all the time
yes.
that it's hard to even know who you are. And you kind of come out of that a little bit once your kids are in preschool and school. And yeah, I mean, it really was a wonderful experience. And I learned so much by being a dad. I grew up without a dad. My dad died in a car accident when I was 3. And so this healing experience that really God did in my life as I became a father and understanding God in such a whole new way was very profound. There was challenges throughout it all, as anybody that's spending the majority of their time with, the little ones.
Yeah.
You do go a little crazy at times, but this new, season has led us back to Canada to be closer to my mom, who's um, doing great, and just so nice to be closer to grandma and our family. And yeah, it's been a journey, and a lot of new music has now sort of been on the back burner, and something that I'm really focused on.
Yeah, I love it. Our stories not completely similar, but like the main milestones are because I have an 8 and 10-year-old,
Yeah.
and you moved from Texas to New Brunswick, and I moved from Edmonton to Toronto. Let's talk about big moves because
Yeah.
there seems to be a lot of people in transition in general, and it could be just down the street, but that's still a change. Like all the headache of changing your license and your just all of it.
Yes.
What were some of the things that you and your wife leaned on making that big move from the US back to Canada?
Each other and the Lord. Our families as well. But, it was pretty clear to us that this was God's path for us at that particular moment. We moved in 2021, the very end of the year. And I drove a 26-foot moving truck with all of our earthly belongings, towing
Oh,
our second car. My wife was in the minivan with the 3 kids. And we started out, and we took our time, and there was, I need to write it all. We have written it down, but I need to write it like a memoir or something. My wife's passport had expired and there was only one place we could do it. It was still a lot
Oh
of
my goodness.
lockdown stuff. And so it was a faith journey like no other. And
Yeah.
an amazing experience that, you know, our kids still talk about. And they remember, fortunately, all of the fun things, the parks, stopping in New York City and Washington, D.C. and sightseeing. But it was a 10-day journey. We finally
Oh.
arrived. And when we did, it was like the promised land.
Ah. My kids had a more traumatic experience, so they don't like to be in the car now for more than half an hour, which is unfortunate because in Toronto, everything's an hour away from you.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
So I'm glad your family had a much better experience. I can see it now. It's like the Brouwer family travel guide, how to travel across the country to another country without losing your marbles.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I mean, my wife and I, we definitely lost our marbles once or twice, but you know, it looking, and I mean, I'm a bit of a rose-colored glasses type person. So I look back at it and I wouldn't change a thing. It was such an incredible adventure.
Yeah.
It was very difficult, but you know, I think in a lot of ways, you know, those sorts of journey experiences, they really bond you together as a family.
Yeah, they do.
We have always been really close, but that trip and just sort of the intention of moving here and the purpose of family and connectedness was something that we've really dove into head first. And it's been an amazing experience, challenging, being, you know, like moving to a different country, like you were talking about the driver's license. And I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. My
Oh
wife
yeah.
was, it is an American citizen. And so then residency and just, you know, goes
Oh
down the
my
list.
goodness.
We're here now and God is good.
Let's not get too triggered and trauma triggered by this conversation. So, why don't we talk music? Because music is healing. And instead of going the full on, I'm writing kids' music all the time and releasing my kids' album, you've done something really incredible about this new music project. Taste and See, the first single from it. And it is at radio right now. So let's talk about your journey back into music and why the direction of this album. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It all started in 2020 in lockdown. Somebody that I went to college with reminded all of us that it had been 20 plus years since we had graduated and started a virtual Facebook 20-year reunion group.
Nice.
And, you know, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's cool. People were posting pictures, but it started exploding because everybody was home with nothing to do. And so, you know, before long, there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of former classmates that, you know, either I knew personally or I knew of, or I remember, or I was like, do I remember that person?
Yeah.
This is crazy. And we were all connecting, and it was really quite an incredible experience. And I think even if we had done an in-person reunion, you probably would have less of a chance to really see individually because there were posts and people were just sharing their life. And, you know, we were all, you know, in a season together of an uncomfortable time. People were disrupted in that 2020 year, and
Yeah.
people just felt, I think, a freedom to share honestly. And in looking at all of those stories and in sharing all of that, one thing we kind of all agreed upon was how wonderful our experience was together with this thing called Monday Night Worship that my friend and I had founded. It launched my music career, Jill Paquette's music career, Tim Milner's music career, and so many of us that were there at Prairie at the same time. Prairie Bible College in the middle of nowhere in a farmer's field in Alberta. And here was all of this incredible music and worship and connection that was happening way back in the 90s. So here, fast forward, I started to think, you know, I remember doing the dishes after looking at that Facebook group in Texas and being like, what would music sound like that we would create now? Sort of worship songs or songs that were in the same sort of style from this perspective, looking at our life, seeing how much different we feel about God's grace and feeling how we've been through life, and there were some stories that were sad. There were some stories that
Mhm.
were incredibly joyful. And then there were people that were really diving into their faith and other people that had maybe walked away. And so I felt like, in all of that, I wanted to create some music that set a welcome table to say, we're all welcome, and God's love is an open invitation, no matter where we've been, and all of that mess of our story, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, to just welcome it all and say, nothing is wasted, even the bad stuff, even the hard things that we would definitely change if we could. God uses all of that to tell these individual stories. And when you put it all together, when we share all of that, we see this bigger picture of the mercy and grace of God.
Yeah.
And so that's where these songs came from. And so, Taste and See is a song directly from the Psalms. It was inspired by Psalm 34. And I have to be perfectly honest, I started that song on the ukulele. I had done
What?
it to Hawaii. Yes, I know.
I love that. So you're
Super
just
cool, right? Yeah. Well, so I usually write on acoustic guitar or piano,
yeah, not this one.
myself a few chords, and I just love that sort of island vibe of the ukulele. And I thought, what if I wrote a song? And so anyway, the first thing in my mind was taste and see. I just had that line, and I remembered it was from the Psalms. I looked it up. I started really getting into Psalm 34,
Mhm.
finished the song from there. But it reminded me of my very first radio single ever, 2001. I was 24 years old, and I released a song called Water that I had a part in writing. And this kind of is my adult grown-up version of the song Water. We used to sing that song, and I still sing it, but
Yeah.
youth groups, and I can just see the kids jumping and stuff. And I'm thinking, here we are now on the other side of things. How would we sing a song together about the Psalms? And I love that song because it's this welcome invitation, like, come join me. Let's glorify God together and sing our stories. And
Mhm.
so that's sort of where that song came from.
Nice. So are there little bits of water in Taste and See or
Well, I mean, yeah, I think so. It's kind of
Yeah.
a get up and move song, and in a grown up way, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And then throughout all of the songs of this 5-song EP that I've released, that's really there's little snippets of songs that I wrote or we sang during those years. And the invitation or the idea was to sort of a little wink to my college friends of saying, remember that time, remember who we were, and now how did we get where we are, and how can we, in telling those stories, um, welcome each other to a place where we really are at a deeper level in our faith, in our walk. Maybe we aren't, but that's okay, because it's all a part of the process and a part of our individual and collective stories.
Yeah, it's almost like this album takes your career full circle as
Mhm.
you now start, yeah, a new chapter because I mean, you started in post-secondary, you're in university at Prairie, and
Yes.
now you're there again. Explain to us where you find yourselves these days.
Yes, well, I am worship arts director at Crandall University, and it's an incredible experience. I started in 2022, and so I've just completed now my second full school year with the students. And oh
Awesome.
man, it just seeing them really experience their faith and music and learning about leading worship and doing it together. They have this night called Grounded that they meet together on Thursday nights, and it's just like it's Monday night worship, 25 years later. So for me, it is that full circle experience of seeing their growth and the incredible things, and just watching them even over a 2-year time, some of these students and how they have just grown incredibly has been so moving and very satisfying experience to be a part of.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it's nice to see how the next generation is still connecting to the similar things that we connected with
Right.
as we grew in our relationship. So sometimes I feel like we think that we're islands away and, oh, how can I relate to the next generation? But really, we don't have to look that too far. We don't have to be too deep into it. It's just the conversations and the music.
Yes, and an open heart, and sometimes there would be stylistic things that change or
Mhm.
things that people do differently, but ultimately, our need to be together and to accept one another and to share God's love is really how simple it is. And it's been very cool to see. Yeah, I mean, they they do sometimes make fun of me. They'll, some of my students will find some of my older music that's 20 years old and compare me to Hanson and some of
Oh,
these boy
nice.
bands of the past.
Beautiful. It's great when they troll us, hey? It means that you're in. You're in the inner circle of trust.
And it all kind of comes back. It's funny how, some of that
Yeah.
early stuff, it's not that dissimilar to some of the things that are happening now.
Yeah, no, exactly. So just a reminder, Taste and See is currently going for ads. Matt, thank you so much for taking time today to chat with us. Now, if somebody wants to hear Taste and See and the other songs for the EP, where best can they go to connect with you?
Well, they can go to mattbrower.com, but I think the best place probably is Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. My music's on all the streaming platforms. And so it's, for me, a thrill to be able to share new music once again. And I'm looking forward to the coming months and years for a lot more.
Yes, well, welcome back. We're excited to hear you again on the airwaves and to be able to work with you here at 1016.
Thanks, Holly.
Well, Matt Brouwer, like I said, new music, a new season of life as well. And just very grateful that he took some time this afternoon to be part of our live streams here at 1016 Entertainment. 2 in 1 month. What's going on? Anyway, there is more to come in the coming months. And so if you've got any questions that you have for Matt, or you want to book interviews or anything like that, make sure you connect with us and we can coordinate accordingly. Have a fantastic day. I can't believe we're on the home stretch. It's going to be June here before we know it. So enjoy your time with your family. And I cannot wait again to do this with another artist to introduce you more deeply to the incredible Canadian talent that we have and just their hearts for our nation. So, guys, thank you again for playing all their music, and people who are downloading, thank you so much for your support.